What's going on? This is Shamus with the Educate to Elevate podcast coming to you again. My community knows that I only bring people that I look up to, people that I work with. This is a brother of mine, Amir. He's one of the big players in the wholesale space. Amir, introduce yourself. I appreciate you for coming on the podcast.
I appreciate you for having me, Shamus. And likewise, bro, I don't give my time to anyone that I don't look up to, that I don't admire. You know, you've had success way before I was even born. And your music's dope as fuck, bro. I still listen to it till today, man. So, brother, thank you for having me. To give your viewers a little bit of a background on me, my name is Amir. I'm based out of Orlando, Florida. We're currently in wholesaling. We've been wholesaling now for 3 years. I've been mentored by some of the best in the industry, so I would love to take all the credit for my success, but my success was built off the backs of others, you know, and obviously that came at a price. I'm always big on investing in myself. You know, 29 right now, I've probably spent over $300,000 in events, masterminds, and coaches. And I just literally signed up for a new business coach now. And it's more for accountability than anything, you know. But yeah, you know, the money that we make is a byproduct of what we know and what we do with what we know. So I'm always looking to gain knowledge, gain wisdom, and I put myself in positions where I can win. Do I win all the time? No. But when I win big. You know, I can afford to take losses, and I look at business as a sport of who can lose the longest before you start winning. You know, and I'm sure we're gonna have a great conversation as always, brother. So I'm gonna let you ask the questions, dig as deep as you want. You know, I'll put everything on the table. You know, everyone that's gonna watch this podcast hopefully gets to see, you know, the truth behind what it takes to run a business, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And, you know, to say that we haven't experienced bad times in business is to lie and mislead people. So, brother, any questions you have for me, I'm happy to answer.
All right, let's do it. First, I want to say thank you because you were one of the first ones. As soon as we linked up, you was like, let's hop on a call, and you broke stuff down to me, you know, and to be honest, only a few people did that. I had to get to a certain point for them to start having conversations. You right away was like, hey, man, just tell me whatever you need. So I definitely appreciate that.
I appreciate
let's
you.
Talk about let's talk about you're 29 years old. First
Correct.
of all, you know, you're 21, that's super young. You know, if you could see my goatee, I went with the black and the salt and pepper. I just turned 50. I just turned 50.
Bro,
and I actually did this.
When I'm 50.
I did this last night. I dyed the black and everything. I came out, my wife was like, she called me because I told her I see myself when I get older as like the Del Sakis guy, the beer guy. Very knowledgeable. She said, "Hey, Mr. Del Sakis," or whatever like that. So that's my little.
Isn't that the guy, the most interesting guy in the world, the guy with the
beard? Exactly. And she's like, "There you go." That's what's up. But talk about entrepreneurship. How did you get into it so young?
So I'll say this: entrepreneurship, it can be defined in many ways. I went to business school when I was 17, and I remember it was management. I think it was my first management class, managerial one. And I remember the professor he asked the entire lecture hall, he's like, who here knows what the meaning of entrepreneurship is? Who knows what an entrepreneur is? My arrogant ass sitting in the back, you know, not even paying attention, wanting to stand out. You know, I'm in a new college now, I'm young, you know, and I raised my hand and I said, an entrepreneur is a business owner. Then he responded by saying no. And I'm like, what do you mean no? You don't know what you're talking about, right? I'm 17 at the time. You know, I'm pissing vinegar, testosterone's through the roof. So I'm like, no one's telling me no. But I remember he said an entrepreneur is a person who weighs risk versus reward and makes decisions accordingly. And I was like, oh, shoot. I was like, I do that, you know, because everything is risk versus reward. If I want to cross the street, I'm going to walk to the crosswalk because I know that the risk of crossing you know, in the middle of the street is a lot greater than the reward of getting across the street when I could just walk down to the corner and, you know, wait for the light. Like that's risk versus reward. And in business, you know, everything that you weigh out is, okay, today I'm risking my money. Every single day I pull up to the office, I'm like, okay, today we're going to spend a few $1,000s on marketing, overhead, you know, employee salaries. That's the risk. Now let's look for the reward. So I think my interest in entrepreneurship really spiked around 1920 because that's when I started reading books on my own. Like I started investing time. It was my last year of college. I knew that I was going to be done. I had like another year and a half. I knew that I was going to be done. I went to business school, so that I didn't go to business school to get a degree to be an accountant or to work at a bank. I knew that wasn't the direction that I wanted to take, right? So I knew it was only a matter of time before I was done with that chapter of my life. And until today, bro, I've never used my degree for anything. I have a bachelor's degree in economics, and business management. I've never taken that degree and went to a job interview or none of that. I just took what I know, I learned, and I applied it into my life. But around 20 years old, I picked up the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant. I think a lot of people, in our community, especially in real estate, probably found their inspiration from that book. But I remember in the book when he broke down the cash flow quadrant, it was like the most genius thing I've ever heard at that point of my life. Right? I'm 20 years old. Someone's telling me. I still remember it. I still remember where I was sitting. I still remember the text that was in the book exactly word for word. He was talking about how when people look for or need money, some people, their initial instinct is, okay, I got to go get a job, right? So let me go on Indeed. Let me update my resume. I know people like my friends who, let's say they lose one job, they go home immediately. The first thing they do is they update their resume. Like that's the programming. That's what they instinctively go towards. And then he was talking about self-employed, and he talked about the pros and the cons. Right, employees, they give up their time for money. They're very limited in earning potential. They have very little control over their lives, but they have quote unquote security. Right, every Monday you're getting paid, every Friday you're getting paid, whatever it may be. He talked about self-employed. He talked about how, with self-employed people, your earning potential is a lot more. But if you're out of work, you're out of work. You don't get benefits. You don't have, social. You don't get a lot of the perks that an employed person would. Right? You don't have medical insurance. You don't have PTO. You don't have none of that. You work. You make money. Yes, you make more money per day than, let's say, someone who's on a fixed wage. But at the same time, you don't have that extra cushion. And then he talked about the difference between a business owner and a self-employed person. A lot of people who are self-employed might think they're business owners, but a business is a lot more than just fulfilling orders or fulfilling, jobs for people and getting paid for providing goods and services. It's creating systems, peoples, and processes that automate that revenue stream, right? So you talked about it off camera. You want to go to Greece for 2 months, you and your wife. You don't want that to come at the expense of not making money.
Yeah,
I joke about it, bro. I remember, I think we linked up at this time. It was 2020 in August. I believe it was around August because I just had my daughter. It was Momentum in Arizona.
momentum.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure if you were there, but I got COVID right after that. I got COVID literally the day I came back from Arizona, and I just had my daughter. She was 2 weeks old, and I was in quarantine for 2 weeks in our second bedroom. And it took 2 weeks for me to leave that room. I didn't leave it because I didn't want to risk my newborn getting sick, right? And 2 weeks later, I open up my bank account. I have $200,000 more than I did when I got sick. So I'm like, oh shoot, I just got paid to be sick, and
yeah.
and that's what I've always worked towards, right? Because growing up, I know how much my father had to work. I didn't see him much,
Yeah.
2 jobs, working around the clock. See him at 7 o'clock in the morning. He's out. He's on his way out to work. I'm on my way to school. I come back. I go to sleep. He comes back at 1 a.m. And it was like that for years. And that comes at a price, when you're not there for your family, and not that he wasn't there, but like in the physical form, like he's out there making money. And even till today, I always audit my time. I'm like, shoot, I'm spending more time in my business and my family. Now this is a trade-off that I didn't sign up for because
Yeah.
my whole drive in the beginning was make as much money as possible, as young as possible, so you can, enjoy your time with your kids, enjoy your time with your wife, and just enjoy your life in general. I don't think any of us have a
1000.
passion, quote unquote, for working. Yes, I like doing
Mhm.
what I'm good at, but what I really, really like doing is hanging out with my family, having a great meal with my family, doing something for my community, whatever. But I think that was a very long breath answer to a very short question. So I'm
No, but
gonna,
it was accurate because I've been an entrepreneur since like 9 years old, and I probably never told this story, but in the South Bronx, we had a building. It was 36 apartments in a building, right? Most of them was drug spots, weed, cocaine, heroin, or whatever like that. I started knocking on the doors and say, hey, if you need something from the store, I'll charge you 50 cents or $1 because if you leave, you're going to lose a customer. And I'm running to the store for everybody. My mom was like, where the hell are you getting this money from? And I'm like, I run to the stores and everything. I took a bunch of the guys down to the store, Anna's Bodega, and told her, hey, if I come to buy cigarettes or Dutchess or beer, even at 9 years old, it's not for me. It's
yeah,
for them, right? And she used to sell it to me. And then I used to take that money get up before everybody in school because CS50 was right next to my building.
Yeah.
And I would go to the store because I know kids wasn't going to get up early. And you're going to know my age. I bought penny candies. I would buy 100 penny candies. And then in school at lunchtime, they got that rush. Yo, these is 5 cents, right? And my mother was like, where the hell are you getting this money from? I'm like, I'm running to the store. I'm selling candy.
Yeah.
I probably had 6 jobs. I'm 50. I probably had 6 jobs in my entire life, and none of them lasted longer than 90 days because I was always telling the boss, you're a jackass for the way you did that. That's we're wasting time and everything. I don't know nothing else. So I say that to ask this next question. Being an entrepreneur, people always say, I want to be an entrepreneur. Until you realize that we work more than a person that's working 40 hours, right? That's why we get compensated more.
Absolutely.
How did you find a balance? I'll tell you how I did after after you tell me. But how did you find a balance in your business now, going from the insurance to here to not get burnt out?
I still haven't found it. I'm going to be honest with you, Shamus. The thing about me is, and my brother can attest to this, and anyone who personally knows me for years, I'm one of the most extreme personalities that you'd ever meet. That's why I don't drink. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I never drink. I'm never in the scene because there was a point in my life that I did, but when I do things good, I do them in excess. And that's why I'm able to get really good results. And when I do things that are bad and detrimental, I do them in excess. I've never known how to exist in any healthy medium. I was talking to one of my buddies yesterday and I was telling him, I'm like, I feel sadness to its deepest depth and I feel love to its deepest depths. You know what I mean? And that's just who I want to be. So right now, it's a constant like putting out fires. Right now I'm like grinding it out in the business because I'm bringing everything back in house. No more virtual acquisitions, even though it was very fruitful while it lasted. Now I want the team. I want the culture. I want to come. I want to show up to an office with people, bro. Like that. That's the whole thing. Even though we were making a killing, I used to show up to this office. It's an empty office. I'm like, where's the inspiration? You know what I mean? That inspiration that I once had is gone. And now that I'm bringing these roles back in office, I'm like, and I've done this before. That's the thing with my insurance agencies. I had 2 insurance agencies, me and Ahmed, my brother, when we were in California. We had 15 salespeople in the office, and the culture was great. Every single day was a win. We never won a day without a sale. Like that never happened. We had a combo streak of like 400. Every single day we're coming into office, sale, 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 sale. If one day went by without a sale, then nobody's leaving, and people are willing to do that. When if I got 5 people in this office and one guy's like, hey, I'm not leaving till I get a sale. Well, guess what? Most likely one of the other 4 guys is going to say the same, and we need to be able to feed off each other. And this is something that a lot of people don't talk about, bro. And I'm still trying to make meaning of it myself because all this is new to me. Now, I don't have that much experience in life, even though I think I've lived a very fruitful life up to this point. I'm still 29, so there's still a lot of things I still haven't experienced firsthand. And I'm the type of person that I could hear it from you, but I still need to have my own experience. You could give me the advice, but I'm going to make my own mistake because I need to have my own experience. I'm sure you're similar,
Yeah, that's how it goes.
But I'm starting to realize that at some point you're going to satisfy all your wants, all your needs at that stage. I'm sure your wants and needs will grow as others around you demand more. Like my daughter is only 2, but by the time she's 15, it's going to be a different case, right? And God willing, I have more children, so the family becomes more demanding. But where you're at, sometimes you just satisfy every single itch and you struggle to push past that. You know what I mean? I've been in this situation before multiple times where I hit a certain number in my bank account, what I think is a lot of money at the time, because it is a lot of money for me at the time. And then I coast. My bank account maybe fluctuates a little bit. I go above it. I'm spending. I'm buying a new car. I'm taking a trip. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm hovering at that level. And then obviously as like things change, family grows, your standards go up. There's no more driving no hoopties anymore. You know what I mean? There's no more eating at the Checkers or McDonald's. Your standards go up and you want to maintain that. Now what you thought was a lot of money isn't a lot of money, and you get that intensity back. You run it up a bit, you get to a new milestone, then you coast. But what I'm noticing now is the way to overcome that is by bringing in people that have a goal to get to. And if I can help each individual get to their goal, by default it pours back into my pouch. You know what I mean? Like it all comes for full circle. And at my stage right now in life, I talk to my friends about this a lot, my mentors, coaches. I always used to be the young guy, you know. I'm no longer the young guy. Maybe to some people I am, but I was always no, because you got to understand, bro. You asked me, well, how did I get into entrepreneurship young? I was the youngest all-state franchisee in the country when I started my first insurance agency. I was 23,
Yeah.
when I started the process, and 20. I turned 24 when I started the business. So I was pretty young, and I was in a room with 50, 60, 70-year-old guys, And there's always like that big brother effect that older guys will have to the younger guy, you know what I mean? And I'm not gonna lie, bro, I milk the shit out of that. You got to take
Yeah.
advantage of what you have. I always tell my boys, I'm like, bro, I'm gonna be the younger brother to whoever wants to be my big brother, because big brothers will show
Right.
up for you. I'm sure you've had that similar
Right.
experience at different stages of your life in different arenas of your life, whether it be growing up in the Bronx. I grew up in Queens. I always had an older cousin or an older friend who had my back. Someone would punk me. I'm like, yo, wait till my cousin shows up.
Exactly. You wait
Like,
till 3 o'clock.
yeah, you meet me on the corner at 3. But
Exactly.
I'm starting to realize that I'm not gonna be that guy for long. So now it's my turn to be the big brother for others. So I'm bringing people into my organization who might be at different levels in their lives, and it's my job to get them to the next stage. Whether or not that means that they've outgrown me, because it happens. When you have employees,
Yeah.
they might reach a certain level and they might have aspirations of their own, and who am I to stop them from being blessed by God the same way God's been blessing me? But that's like my whole thing right now. I got to find people who have their own purpose, who have their own mission, and I need to bring them closer to that, because it's
Yeah.
automatically going to pay. It's going to pay me back, And I even forgot your question. These are all things that
No,
just
we're talking about the entrepreneur, but it's funny that you say what you just said. When you get to a certain amount of money and you coast.
yeah,
For me, this happened to me 3 times in my life.
yeah,
I get to a certain amount and I need everything to collapse and lose everything to catapult me forward.
yeah. I feel
With the
that.
Big Willie style in the music industry, when I walked out of the music industry, I had a #4 record on Billboard.
Damn.
It was on Billboard, BET, MTV, and I was like, I don't want to do this no more.
Yeah,
Everybody was like, yo, you're crazy. I'm like, the main reason I walked away from the business is because I started to see what the music business was really about.
yeah.
It was a modern day plantation. It was slavery.
Oh
right?
yeah, those contracts are terrible, bro, because they're preying on people who have no legal background, no financial education, nothing, bro.
Exactly. So I seen that. There were people, artists, that was on Billboard, hot records sold millions of copies, and I loaned them money to pay their car notes. And I'm like, yo, I'm a street dude. Like, you sold 1 million copies. You can't pay for your Range Rover or whatever like that. When I see that,
Yeah,
I'm quick to pivot. I'm quick to pivot. And then the second thing was I realized that I didn't want to spend the time away from my family because I vowed that I would be there for them
yeah,
because I didn't have that. I didn't have that. So going on the road for 6 months, hearing my kids say they hate me because they don't know me and see me, I was like, I just can't do that. And then the industry, I knew, I'm like, listen, this is going to hit a roadblock. I know I'm not going to grow because I was trying to do distribution 25 years ago. And there still is no Black or minority distribution. I'm like, yo, this is our music. Like, why are we letting them distribute it and make all of the money when this is our art? So when I seen that kind of backed me out of the music industry, right? And I
yeah.
was like, when I figured that out, one of my coaches, she told me, I know you know Tanya Oliver.
Correct. Yeah,
We was talking, and I said, I was like, this wholesaling thing. I'm like, I'm not motivated no more. I'm like, and I started talking to her. She said, that's kind of like a disease that you got. Like, I'm a basketball player. I don't like football. I don't like baseball because if you come down to score before you turn around, I'm on your ass, back down your throat, right? So I have to lose everything to
yeah.
put my back against the wall. And we always push forward way better than we were.
Yeah.
So I
Comeback
understand
is
what you
always
say.
bigger than the setback, man. But that's the thing. At
Exactly.
some point, I've never hit 0, never in my life. You
I
know,
did several times, bro.
I've never lost everything because I'm pretty conservative. I have a good financial education. I don't have many bad habits. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, the only bad habit that I might have, and I don't even think it's a bad habit. I just buy cars all the time. You know, like that's it. I lose on them because I don't care about, let me get the right deal. I'm like, if I want it, I got it, and that's it. You know, that's the life I wanted to earn. So that's my only like bad financial habit. I'll lose mad money on things that I want, but to me, it's not a loss because I can derive value as much as I want from things. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because I get to choose how it makes me feel, and I put a high value on how I feel.
Yeah.
And that's one thing a lot of people don't. So in your case, let's say you said you're unmotivated when it comes to wholesaling. Here's something that my mentor told me a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago, actually. He was telling me sometimes we're not burnt out from what we're doing, but how we're doing it.
That's 1000%. And it's funny that you say that because one of the things I realized, and I don't know if you recall the conversation when me and Ahmad and you were sitting at lunch, and I was like, man, I'm going in-house. I can't do the repeat and everything. I just seen it. I was like, I get tired of it. What
Yeah.
made me change is when I switched all of my marketing to inbound, right? So the calls was coming to me. I didn't have to have people manage it. Still got, follow a specialist and everything. But that was the model that worked for me.
Yeah.
That first month that we switched, I think I did, and I locked up all. It was 11,
18, 11. Yeah, you were telling me.
And I was like, okay, this is the model. But I agree. What you said is, you have to have those people around you and become like the bigger brother to them because it's fulfilling. If I come to work for you and I accomplish everything I want, I look at you and I'm like, yo, Amir, thank you. Like, thank you for getting me here, right? That's more fulfilling
and
than
some
me
people will
saying,
come and take, bro. Some people will come and take as much as they can and they'll bounce with it. But you know what? You just got to make peace with that. You got to make peace
yeah,
with, because that held me back for a while. I'll be honest with you. That was like my own personal limitation because I came from the insurance industry where the barrier of entry is pretty high, right? You need $100,000 in capital to start your own insurance agency. So a lot of people weren't leaving to start their own insurance agencies, but I had people who I would bring in, pay for their licensing, pay them for their training, crash courses. It will cost me maybe on average about $10,000 to $12,000 between salaries, courses, time allocated towards study that was paid, and their licensing fees to get one producer licensed, right? And I had to have at least 3 producers around the clock. This was part of my contract agreement, my franchise. Around the clock, all days, I had to have at least 3 licensed producers in my office. But the thing is, you hire these people with no experience, you pay them 14, 15 bucks an hour. This is Orange County, California, which is on the lower end.
mm-hmm.
And they got licensed. Now they know, okay, well, I could just go work at, Liberty Mutual, let's just say, or like AAA and make 25 bucks an hour and get benefits. But I'm over here thinking, okay, well, I just invested all this money in this person. Now it's time to get some money back and then I'll offer them a better opportunity, but people won't wait. So when it came to wholesaling, I'm like, the barrier of entry is really low, right? You don't have to even, you could be anyone. There's no requirement to sign a contract, right? So one of my limitations was, man, if I bring someone and I teach them and they go off and they do their own thing, then I'm shit out of luck and I'm beating my competition. But I'm like, you know what? The only reason that would happen is because I'm not creating a good enough opportunity for people. I need to create an opportunity good enough to where you're better off sticking with me. You're going to make more money sticking with me than going off and doing it on your own because, number one, it's not as easy as people make it seem, right? It might be simple, but it's not easy. We've all had our bad months. We've all had our tremendous months where we've won big, you know what I mean? And we've all had our winning streaks as well. But to get to that, it took a lot. You and I were part of the same mentorship, you know what I mean? We paid that price. We've been in the same rooms throughout the years. The first time I saw you was 2020 in January and at the W in Hollywood, you know what I mean? You were at an event. I was at that same event. We're constantly investing in our knowledge, So it's not easy, but the barrier of entry is low, and that was my limitation. I was worried to bring people in, teach them the game, they go off and they do their own thing. But like I said, the only reason that would happen is if you're not creating a good enough opportunity for them. I got to give a shout out to Donovan Ruffin because I went to his event back in, I want to say it was like October, and it was a beginner wholesaling like 101 workshop at his office. But my biggest takeaway was just seeing what he built. I saw the vision clear, right? Donovan's great, bro. I love the guy, as a person,
he's a good dude.
as a business owner. he's like top tier, you know, in everything he does. And I just looked at him and I looked at, even though our numbers were similar, believe it or not, like our revenue was similar. I had a bigger profit margin because my expenses were lower. But when the winds took a turn, you know, I felt it more than he did. I felt it a
Yeah.
lot more than he did. You know what I mean? Because I was standing on one leg. That's how I see it. And that's why I told you. I don't know if this was on camera or off camera before we started recording, but my mantra this year is build it a mile wide, not a mile high. You know,
Yeah.
I built it a mile high, and it's great. You know, we made money. I don't look at it as I did anything wrong. I did what was right at the time. But you want to build something that can last the test of time. Look at the Great
Exactly.
Pyramids, bro. They're still standing. I'm Egyptian. I've seen them in person. Those things are still standing solid as ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you look at the pyramid, the base is wide, and then it gradually gets smaller. Now imagine if they just built it up straight up, bro.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen. It's going to tumble down over time. And if there's one crack in the entire structure, bro, the whole thing tips over. So
Exactly.
yeah, man.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Building wide gives you more of a foundation. It gives you more of a foundation, you know, and when certain things happen, you can pivot fast. And that's
correct.
what, you know, and one thing about wholesaling this last year, a lot of people got out of it because of the way that they built their, you know, they built everything. And then when it took that turn, they really couldn't, you know, they couldn't move with the industry and they got caught. So I understand that. Mindset. Let's talk about mindset. Being the youngest in your family. I don't know if you have. I know Ahmad, but if any other sisters or brothers or parents, does anybody else? Is there any other entrepreneurs, or were like you the first one? Because I know in my family there's no entrepreneurs on the island. I'm the only one. Was it the same like that for you? And what forced you to shift that mind?
Absolutely. So I would like to say my father had entrepreneurial aspirations, but he never really pursued it in full. And you know, my father's an immigrant. He came to this country. He really got it out the mud. I look at my success compared to him. I'm like, he's more successful than I am, even though I've made a lot more money in my career. You know, but just based off of where he started and where he's at
Mhm.
compared to where
Yeah,
I started with a college degree. I was an American citizen. I spoke English. Like these are all
it's
valuable
different.
skills. People don't understand speaking English is a skill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I compare myself to him, definitely I look at his success in a greater light than mine. You know, but he had entrepreneurial. He had an entrepreneurial spirit. He actually owned a restaurant in Manhattan. I don't know, bro. I don't want to say. Maybe you know it. It was back in the '80s, so I don't want to disrespect you like that, bro. No, but yeah, my pops had a restaurant on Wall Street. It was called Twins Corner. This was back in like 82, 83. This was way before I was born. And, you know, he got in a partnership. It didn't work out. They ended up selling it. You know, he tried his hand at a few more things and then eventually went back to school, got his license, you know, in the medical field, then started working at a hospital. And that was his career ever since. But as the first person to fully be, you know, like I'm committed to this, bro. I have no plan B. I
Yeah.
never had a plan B. There's no, oh man, go get your MBA, maybe, you know, get a
Nah.
none of that. Like, and I thank God, even on my worst years, I still didn't have a boss. You know, I've been self-sufficient for the past 6 years of my life. Thank God, you know. I've been able to pay all my bills. I've been able to do whatever I want and grow and thrive through that, you know, and having gone through COVID, now going through, you know, this terrible economy, I'm still here, bro. And I'm taking
What's up?
punches. Don't get me wrong. I'm still taking punches. I'm losing, but I can afford
You weaving, you catching some, you getting past some. Like, yo, all right, you swung, I got back.
but some of them hurt, bro. You know,
Yeah,
but
they do. But you know what? You know what's funny? It's what you talk about, like how everything switched right now. The biggest thing that I did, and hiring a personal development coach, is what I do now is the things that make me happy, and it could be like, you know, getting a massage on Saturdays, going to this, going to that. I put those things on my calendar, and then I plan my work around it.
Mhm.
Because what I found myself doing is I'm just like you. I'll keep punching and punching until I pull a shotgun out. Like I can't take this no more. And then I either walk away from it or it pushes me into a different direction. I walked away from the music industry. And then in
Yeah,
2016,
your business in the Philippines. I remember you were telling me about that.
Exactly. In 2016, I had a factory in the Philippines. I was importing for China. We was doing seven figures at like a 60, 70% profit margin. And
That's
our peak year, I walked away. I was like, I can't do this no more. And we lost everything. Had to go bankrupt. House got foreclosed on, cars and everything. Right. And for 2 years, I just sat. We was living in a house that was in foreclosure. We filed Chapter 13, gave us a couple of months. When that was done, we filed Chapter 7, gave us a couple of more months. And then I found the buyer that I went to my first real estate event. And he started talking about short sales. I'm like, what the hell is a short sale? He's like, well, I could get you another 8 months in the house. I'm like, say less. That was my first check. I got a wholesale fee for a short sale that we sold.
Your own house.
My own house, yeah.
Crazy.
I didn't know nothing about real estate. Yeah, I didn't know nothing about real estate. I'm a hustler, and when I say hustle, I mean, I did street stuff, but when it comes to business, I'm really, really bad because I have my sense of like the bullshit I could take from employees is zero. Like I fired a guy like 2 months ago for coming 7 minutes late. I was like, nah, this is the second day and you're late. I live an hour away and I'm here before you. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not good at that. So that's why I set myself up to like, okay, like now with the bit, everything is inbound. I'll close everything. I profit. I outsource what I want to outsource, but I'll dabble in a couple of other things that could get me to the income stream I want to get to, but be free. That's how I am. I just get till I burn out. And I didn't go to school before seeing Sal talk. I thought KPIs was a fruit. I didn't know what the hell a KPI was. I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm like, what the hell is that? He's like, oh, key performance. I didn't know what the hell it was. Yeah. And I told Sal, I said, I fell in love with y'all guys when I seen y'all on Steve's podcast because Sal, I'm a number guy. That's probably the only class I passed in school. It was math, right? Because I knew numbers. I just needed to know how to count shit. That was it, right? And that's what kind of opened me up to like seeing Sal talk about, about KPIs and understanding your numbers and tracking and everything and stuff like that. So let's talk about that. In your business now, in your wholesale operation, tell us a little bit about how you got it set up, and as far as like, what your plans are and what type of numbers you're looking at, and then just in the general. I'm gonna open it up to you because I know you're embedded into it. What do you see going on in the industry now? Where do you see it going?
So I'll say this, man. I'm still seeing deals. Like we got some deals on the board right now. Nothing that's closed yet this month. It's still the fifth day, but we have a good amount that's set to close. We're obviously keeping up with the trends in the wholesale space. So we're doing novations, AIFs. We're leaving no stone unturned. It's taking a lot more effort, of course, to get a real deal, right? We're contracting things at like 30-40% and selling them at 50-55%. So we're getting these home run deals. Like now the focus is on how do we get a good product for our buyers, right? Because we understand that the scarcity isn't with sellers, right? I have sellers calling my PPC campaign all day. I'm like, no, this isn't a deal. No, you know what I mean? It's I need a good buyer. The way that we ran up our wholesale operation in 2021 and 2022 and the last quarter of 2020 as well was we found really good buyers. But we weren't giving them really good properties. We were getting really good spreads. You get what I'm saying? But there's a trade-off, right? I'm going to reference something later on that I think it's going to be very helpful for your viewers as well. But 2021, 2022, it was how can we get the sellers the most, right? Our sellers can sell their properties on the market, and get top dollar, but we want to give them that convenience and top dollar. Like, how can we come up with a pitch that's good enough to where we were contracting properties at 90%, selling them at 110% because we understood our buyers so well. I think you and I had the conversation. I popped the hood for our operation, bro. But our primary focus at the time was our sellers. We need to give our sellers as much as we can. We need to beat the competition by being the strongest offer. But in order to do that, I need a strong buyer that can make an even stronger offer, and then I collect the difference, right? Now that's not the case. Now my focus has shifted from, our sellers, of course, are important, but our sellers have to come back down to earth and realize that, hey, this isn't last year. This isn't 2 years ago. And now it's how can I provide a great opportunity for a buyer to come in, make some money, and then come back to me and buy another property. It was Jeff Bezos. There's a 1 minute clip. I'm sorry. I'll send you a link to it. You can watch it on your own time. Maybe throw it up on the.
I love that book.
Which book?
The Jeff Bezos, the one he has a book called One Click. You know what I didn't know about Jeff?
I didn't know
He
that.
has a
I
book
was
called One
referencing a
Click.
link. There's a link.
He
Talk to me.
It's a book called One Click. What I found out he patented one click transactions.
Nice.
So Apple has to pay him because when you go to their page, you buy it with one
Now,
click. He
yeah.
patented the whole thing. But go ahead, continue.
That's insane. You see, intellectual property as well is something that's unexplored by a lot of people, and that you're telling me this, and I'm thinking, okay, that is a way to make money. Just think of a great idea, get it patented. A lot of us don't think that way because we don't even know it's possible. Shout out to
Exactly.
Shark Tank, bro. That shit's like my go-to when I want to learn some new shit about business. But
I sat down with Damon John like 3 times
I
because a
remember you
friend of
telling me.
mine was his roommate. A friend of mine was
Yeah,
his
you
roommate.
told
So
me.
his building in Fubu, and then it was another event I went to. I flew up to in Philadelphia with a bunch of NBA players and NFL players. Okay, continue.
So this 1 minute clip, I'll send you a link to it. Watch it. It's literally a minute on YouTube. Jeff Bezos talks about how the reason why Amazon is so successful is because it's the most customer centric company in the world. They focus primarily on their customers, right? Anytime you want something, I've never used eBay. Maybe back in like the early 2000s. I never think, let me check what the price is on eBay. I'm like, no, let me check what the price is on Amazon. I just went to Best Buy yesterday, bought this wireless mouse, but before I bought it, I'm like, shit, let me check Amazon. I got same day delivery, same price.
Exactly.
I'll just grab it off the shelf, right? But in the video, he references, and I don't remember the guy's name, but he was the founder and CEO of Sony. You know, Sony, the electronics company. He was talking about how in the early 1900s, right after like World War II, the founder of Sony wanted to make it a mission for Japan to be known for quality. This was a time when Japan wasn't necessarily known for its quality. It was like the China of the time, if you look back that far, almost 100 years ago. So his goal was to make Japan the most, the highest quality products. And when we think of quality and reliability, we think Toyotas, we think, any other Japanese product, right? But I watched that video on YouTube and I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, I got to do something similar. I need to be one of the most customer centric companies in wholesaling. Like that's my focus this year. The money's going to come. I know it will. I don't really have this year. I want to do this much, right? I know I need to do at least this much to keep the lights on and keep, things moving forward. But I'm like, let's see what happens, right? I got to change something and the outcome's going to change. You can't focus on changing the outcome when all the variables are the same. You got to look at your whole equation, right? And see how many variables are here and which ones are working, which ones can be improved, and just change one thing at a time. Don't try to change everything. Change one thing at a time and experiment with it. If it works, it works. Cool, keep it, and then move on to the next thing. So for wholesaling, bro, I'm not going anywhere. I was talking to my brother on the way here this morning. I was telling him, I'm like, bro, wholesaling is going to be our forever business. That's the thing.
Yeah.
When I went out to Dallas and I met with Donnie at his event, he said he was the first person I ever heard to say, we're going to be wholesaling forever. He said, he's like, I'm going to own this company forever. I'm like, man, how many wholesalers have that mentality? You and I've seen people come and go over the years. And especially right now, so many people have gone up in smokes. You don't even see them. And there's a lot of people transitioning in and out. And that's fine, of course, if there's a better opportunity for you to use your skills to maximize it elsewhere. But sometimes you got to build a forever business. Sometimes it has to be something where this is what I'm doing forever. Anything else is going to be built upon this. So wholesaling for me is a huge cash cow because I know how much money I can pull out of the market every single month, and I know with the right size team, processes, and all that, it becomes like clockwork. So I'm so very optimistic with wholesaling now more than ever, actually, because my involvement has increased. And that's another thing, right? 2022, 2021, I built the business, had a big team, had processes and everything. I was coasting, making mad money, chilling, doing what I wanted to do. But when that slows down, now it's time for me to step back in. And I love this phase. I look at this phase as a building phase in my life because now it's like, head down. I don't care about nothing. I'm on top of every area of my life because I'm not gonna sacrifice my family at the altar of my business. I'm not gonna sacrifice my health, my mental health, my enjoyment. I don't care, bro. In the grand scheme of things, I know in a long enough time frame, it's not even going to matter. Because what I
Mm.
perceive as a lot of money today might not be a lot of money tomorrow. I look back 5, 6 years ago, when I was, so 6 years ago, I started my business. 7 years ago, I was working for $10 an hour. And I was a
Yeah.
college graduate, bro. I was in Cali. I moved to Cali. I got a job at a gas station. Didn't last long there. That was the hardest job I ever had. Then I got a job in Venice Beach. I was selling T-shirts, making $9 an hour plus commission. And I got a job at a desk and I loved it, and I just worked my way up from there. So at that time, $1,000 may have been a lot of money to me, and I may have been like super scarce with it. Don't spend it, keep it. Hey, don't go on this vacation. Don't, I was being mad thrifty, bro. Like when I
Yeah.
was in
Yeah. Yeah.
Cali at 22, I moved to Cali at 22. I was completely alone. It was just me, no friends, no nothing, bro. When I say nobody, I had never stepped foot in Cali. I moved to Cali, one-way ticket, never stepped foot there, but I was like, this is where I want to be. I'm in Florida now, but God willing,
Yeah.
in my lifetime, I will move back to California. But what I perceived as a lot of money then may not be a lot of money now, and what I perceive as a lot of money now in the next 5, 6 years might not be a lot of money. So I just made a promise to myself: I'm gonna live at every stage of my life, no matter if I'm winning,
Amen.
if I'm in my winning season, or if I'm in my learning season. Let's call it a learning season, because this is what it is,
Yep.
right? We're all learning, man. You're learning
Exactly.
about yourself. You're applying yourself more. This is when you catch yourself, um, it's 9 o'clock, you're in bed, but you're watching a YouTube video trying to get some value so you can, apply it tomorrow at
Yeah.
work, or like going over your KPIs, maybe looking at your deal sheet at odd hours of the night, because now it's important, and
Yeah.
I love the fact that I always rise to the occasion. Don't ever bet against me. That's what I tell people. Don't bet against me, bro. You want me to
I
be.
posted exactly. I posted on my story the other day. I said, for all of y'all keep count that was counting me out, y'all gonna have to keep counting. I'm not going nowhere. I'm not
Oh,
going nowhere. I'm gonna figure out what works for me, because I also see in a wholesale space, we know the same people. We know that, you got people doing a certain amount per year per deal. But when I look at the
but do you
wholesale
really?
space,
But do you really, Seamus? Because it's all smoke and mirrors, bro.
yeah, that's my point. You don't even know what they're doing. And then when I look at it, I'm like, okay, how can I build this company like Apple? Like, why there ain't no wholesale companies doing $500 million a year? The housing inventory is selling 500 mil. So I came up with a couple of ideas, and what I'm building is a transactional company. Whether we
Mm-hmm.
make $500 off of what we help you with, or whether we make 50,000 off of it, I'd
Mm-hmm.
rather do 500 transactions a month and say, hey, on these 200, it was only this fee because we did this and did that. And I
Yeah.
talked to Sal about it. And I talked to Sal, and he actually made a video about it. He's like, yo, that's genius, Shamus. That's genius. He's like, I'm about to implement this. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking, yeah, okay, I know people are doing, or they say they're doing what they're doing, but why there ain't no Apple in the wholesale space? Is it even possible? I think it is.
Yeah. The wholesale space is like the swap meet of business, bro. It really is. I mean, me and Carlos, we joke about it a lot because you see all walks of life. It's not like if you're, let's say, in the medical space where there's some uniformity in character, morals across the board, right? You get everyone from every walk of life in the wholesale space. And that's obviously what makes it what it is. I celebrate that diversity, but with that, I don't think a lot of people have the vision going into it. I think that's something you have to
Yeah,
have the vision going into it. Like, hey, I'm going to build this to be X, And a lot of us who've gotten in wholesaling, a lot of it came out of survival. For me, I was doing well before wholesaling. I had my insurance agencies, but I was very unhappy, man. I hated doing
yeah,
insurance. I'm like, man, I couldn't see myself doing it longer than I did. At that point, I've been doing it for like 4 years, built 2 agencies, we were doing 7 figures a year between both. I think our gross per year was like 1.2 to 1.3. And I'm 24, bro, like 24, 25. I'm chilling, bro. I was
you
making
living,
good
you
money.
good.
I was
Yeah, you
living, bro.
good.
I lived in LA, for God's sakes. I had 2 Beamers, I was chilling, man. Money was coming every single month. I couldn't spend it quick enough, but I was very
Yeah,
unhappy. I felt like I just traded my life for a job. I didn't realize that, I'm basically working for someone as a franchise owner. That was like a big slap to the face. I didn't come to that realization until I was like 25, and I'm like, nah, this isn't it. And that's when I hopped
yeah,
on. I went to an event, a real estate event. They tried selling me a mastermind. Good thing I didn't sign up for it. It turned out to be a scam. They got sued. There was a class action lawsuit. But within that, I was like, okay, man, I don't feel good about paying these guys, but I know these guys on IG, Carlos and Sal, because back in 2019, they were the hottest thing on the block, bro. All in.
Bro, that's what, because when I seen, I was like, yo, this dude is flipping houses and driving a Rolls. I'm like, what the hell? And I flew out, and I tell Carlos this story. I flew out to Freedom and spent my rent money. I didn't know how to pay rent next month. I didn't have it. At the time, we had just lost everything. I was driving for Uber and everything. But I was like, something's telling me that I have to get out here. And I went out there and I learned so much from them. If you look back on my IG, I got a picture of me talking to Sal and then with Carlos and Alex. That was really my first event. I didn't know what the hell wholesaler was. The year prior to that, I got under some mentors and they didn't have my best interests at heart. And I was like, you know what? I'm bringing deals to the table. I'm getting to the office before everybody else. And I'm trying to tell them, like, listen, man, I just came out of foreclosure and lost everything. I need this. I need this. I remember my first deal I closed. 3 hours before closing, I get a phone call. We don't got the money to close. I'm like, what are you talking about? I had to borrow the money from a buddy of mine that actually was selling me the deal. I said, hey, we need 5,000. Give me 5,000 so we could close so you can get your 15 grand and I'll give you your 5 back. I wound up walking away from that deal because there was a lot of chaos in their company and I was getting caught in the crossfire.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm out. I'm like, that's it. I'm out.
Bro, with educators and mentors, especially these self-promoting Instagram people. But I'll say that Carlos and Sal, their mentorship was some of the best money that I've spent, and I spent a lot of money with them. Like under their umbrella, bro, I've spent close to $1 million under their umbrella. They can tell you, you know, between cold callers, between PPC services, skip tracing, CRM systems. Like I subscribed entirely to their ecosystem because I understood what they were offering. Dude, I saw what they had before they saw what they had. They had a franchise model without the franchise fee, without the royalties. And I'm like, oh man, I got the deal. Like I tell them all the time, now they're exploring that. I told them in 2019, I'm like, you guys have a franchise on your hand. That's what you don't understand. And I'm sure if they would have taken my advice back then, they would be in a better position, of course, because instead of collecting 25,000 or 30,000 or however much the mentorship is per company, why not consult or why not package it up, sell it for 100,000, and you know you can retain 20-30% equity, or not equity, I'm sorry, royalties from the profit margin every single month. So now you're invested in the success of their business and they're invested in you guys, because there's no like I'm paying you. It's a partnership. Now we have an agreement. But we'll talk about that another time. But yeah, man, with the educational space, bro, it's very hit or miss. I've hired some bad mentors. I'm not gonna lie, but you know what? You get to choose the value that you get from it. I could pay someone $5,000 and say, you know, that was a waste of money, or I could say, okay, well, now I know what not to do. Now I know that, dude, I've paid people thousands of dollars, got nothing in return. Went to events, spent thousands of dollars, got no value. But I'm like, you know what? It's my job to get value out of this. And sometimes the value isn't even what the event is here to teach, but the people that are in the room. I've paid $5,000 to be in a room before. Me and my brother, we paid $10,000 to be in rooms before. And I may have not learned much from like the people who were sharing what they were doing, but if all I got out of that was I was in the room with these people, I spent a weekend with them. We kicked it at the bar afterwards. You know, we had a meal together. Then one day I can tap into that relationship and, you know, not that I'm like using the person, but create a win-win situation. You know, I always say that your next blessing is in the form of a person. Pray for people.
Amen.
Pray God puts the right people in your path. You even said this earlier on this call. You said that you and I, right off the jump, I'm just happy to help. God blesses me. Right. And in order for me to continue to receive his blessing, I need to be a blessing to other people. That's just my philosophy. Anytime I'm going through a difficult time, my mother taught me this, so I got to give her credit. Every time I go through a difficult time, she's like, give. The test right now is to give. If you're not receiving, God wants to see how much faith you have in him. How much faith do you have that he's going to provide for you again? You can't go into scarcity. You can't fucking try to don't ever bring down your standards, because what you're telling yourself what you're subliminally telling yourself is, I've accepted defeat, so I'm going to
Yep.
compromise on this. Bro, over the past few months, business hasn't been the greatest, but I've accounted for that over the years, right? You save your money, you make some investments, you got money parked in the right areas. My father was diagnosed with cancer, but even during
Sorry to
that
hear.
period, bro, I chose to live. I upgraded
Yeah.
my life. I didn't cut back on anything. I'm still whipping my cars. I'm still going to the same spots. I'm still dressing the same. My wife needs something. She gets it, right? I'm not obviously
Hmm.
being wasteful, but at the same time, I'm like, I have so much faith in God that it's going to turn around and turn around even bigger and better, that there's no reason to stress. And that's why I keep reminding myself, at some point, you used to stress about the small things. Now they mean nothing.
Yep.
You could
Yep.
have brought ease to your life by spending a little bit more when I was making maybe like 3 grand a month working somewhere. Like, it wouldn't have killed me, right? But I was saving
Hmm.
because I wanted to start a business, and that's what I did. I didn't waste my money. I invested it. But shit, man, it would have been nice to have some new clothes every once in a while. And I was like, nah, you're just sticking with this. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You definitely have to have faith. So I'm 8 weeks into my discipleship to become a preacher,
nice.
right?
Congrats, brother.
And I'm reading so much, and so many things are coming clearer to me. And I'm telling, and I tell myself, like, this was right in front of me all the time. All I needed was to be, to stick to God, to be faithful, and no matter what I tell myself is, I'm 50 years old.
Hmm.
I've been through a lot of shit,
I
and he
bet.
got me out every single time. He got me
Better.
out
Better.
better. Exactly. So why would he not do it moving forward? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's crazy. It's crazy that you say that, because to me, the most important thing now is my relationship with God. That's the
Me
most
too.
important thing. I'm not worrying about nothing else. It's God. And even now, like, I'm getting so close to him, I can feel people's energy, and like when somebody gets me upset or whatever, I get angry at myself that I'll tell you a story. So something happened about 2 months ago,
Hmm.
and it was an altercation, not fighting, but it almost got bad because somebody tried to do something. When everything was done, I was standing in the right, but I said to myself, what if his mother died yesterday and he just can't deal with it? And I
Yeah.
looked at him wrong or whatever like that. So that kind of changed me to how we was actually in a car also, and a buddy of mine, because I always carry cash on me, so I see somebody at a light or whatever like that. We feed the homeless and stuff like that and help them. And he gave him money, and then he was like, he didn't even say thank you. I'm like, what if he can't talk? And he was like, well, I didn't think about that. I was like, you
Yeah.
got to think from the other side. You don't know what they're going with.
Yeah.
People don't have as thick as skin in as us and have faith. People, even in church, you say you got faith, but I remember one time it was a preacher preaching, and he said that if God came down here and said, "Come on," I'm gonna tell him I'm not ready yet. And I looked at my wife and I'm like, if God come down here and say it's time to go, I'm like, why did you take so long? Like, let's go. Like,
Yeah.
that's how my faith is, right? So I
Yeah.
think you have to lead. You have to lead with God, and you have to have the ultimate faith.
100%.
Don't detour.
A
Don't
hundred.
detour from that.
And I say this, I always say this: if I lose everything but I regain my relationship with God, then I really lost nothing. Because, and I literally just had this conversation earlier this morning. It's crazy that we're referencing the same things, but I'm sure it's for the purpose of others to hear this, right? My entire life, bro, when times got tough, I ran to God. Always,
Yeah.
that was always something about me. That was, of my faith, my upbringing. Every time I went through something, my mom would tell me, go to God, pray to God, pray to God. I always did, right? But when things got good, I become ungodly. I
Yeah.
become, you become like the Pharaoh, right? I'm great. I'm this. I did this. I'm so, and you can only exist in that for so long. You
Yeah.
can only exist in that arena for so long before something comes and like wipes you out. And when my father got diagnosed with cancer, that was like a big blow, bro. That knocked me off my feet.
Yeah.
But I was like, maybe there's a reason behind this. Maybe one day we're going to celebrate the fact that he's cancer free. It still hasn't happened yet, but that's like the faith that I'm having. Maybe God wanted to
Amen.
humble me down to the point to show me, hey, everything you're pursuing means nothing. Heaven is a promise that we're all going to be reunited. So while we're here, isn't that a piece of heaven? Isn't this like a trial period? I'm sure when I get to heaven, God willing, I'm not going to be thinking about business. I'm not going to be thinking about making money. I'm not going to be thinking about cars. I'm going to be thinking, yo, where's my pops? Where's my mom? You know, especially God, I lose. Like that's how I have people very close and dear to me who've lost loved ones, and I've seen grief. I still haven't experienced it in my life, and I know I'm going to. I know that's one thing that's promised. But my family's either going to lose me or I'm going to lose them. And one of my really good friends, you know him, Edwin from the Helios guys.
Yeah, that's my boy.
I love that guy, bro. Him and Rafe, that's my fam, bro. Every time I'm out in New York or Jersey, I gotta go see them. I gotta check
Yeah.
in with them. But I was at their office. This was like maybe a year ago, and I remember Edwin. He asked me. He's like, Amir, do you still have both your parents? I'm like, yes. He's like, be thankful because the worst days of your life are ahead of you, bro. I got goosebumps
Yeah.
right now.
I got goosebumps too. I got goosebumps
I,
too, bro.
I always give him credit for telling me that because that was like one of those moments where everything shifted my mind. Because, dude, I'm a very deep thinker. I don't know if you know that about me, but I'm very well thought out, well spoken because I spend the time to think. And when he said that, I was like, fuck, you're right. And I experienced a lot of loss over the past few years, you know, people in my life and, you know, money or whatnot. You know, you lose some of your possessions. But I'm like, man, if heaven is a promise that we're all going to be together, then while we're together, this is my piece of heaven, and I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm not gonna allow anything to fucking bother me, bro. What? And thankfully, I have this perspective because where I'm at in life, I'm no longer in survival mode. I can go years without working and still live my life the exact same way that I'm living right now. Thank God,
Mhm.
right? But it's like I can't rob myself of things that I can't get back. You know, it's Ramadan right now, so I'm fasting. And I was like 210 built as fuck. I lost like maybe 15 pounds in the past 15 days because I'm not eating as much. I'm fasting, but I keep reminding myself, I'm like, I didn't lose anything that I can't gain back. And it's
Yep.
cool. Give me
Yeah.
another 2 weeks. When Ramadan's over, bro, I'm juicing back up,
Uh,
bro. I'm getting beefy again.
how did it feel to do 75 hard? Because I'm back on like day 5, my second time. What did that do for you discipline wise?
75 hard. So the thing about 75 hard is people don't understand it's an endurance challenge and not so much an intensity challenge. So if you're
Exactly.
intense from the gate, you're most likely not going to cross the finish line. I understood
Yeah.
that early on because before I started it, I talked to a bunch of my friends who did it and they shared something similar to what I said to you. But with 75 hard, I don't think it's a sustainable way to to build a good routine because I fell off right after 75 hard. Day 75, I was done. I felt like a champion. I'm like, I'm gonna give myself a
Day
day break.
6, you was eating a cheesecake on day 76. Like,
I
yo.
was in the car with a McFlurry, bro. That was like the first thing I did because I cut out. That was part of my diet. I cut out sugar.
I
I cut
remember
out.
you sent me that. You was like, yo, I'm getting a McFlurry right now.
Yeah, bro. Like, I was like salivating. But I'll say this: during 75 hard, my energy was up, my confidence was
Yep.
up, my mental
Yep.
clarity was up. I felt great, but after that, bro, I sunk like a rock, bro. Coming off 75 days of extreme discipline, you need to give yourself a break. But you don't, like I said, I don't know how to exist in a healthy medium. There's no healthy
Yeah.
medium for me. It's either I'm
Yeah.
super committed or I'm just like fuck everything and I'm just chilling. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
there's
I had to
ways.
get back on it. I
I
had to, I
remember.
had to get back on it. I'm on it now because the same thing. I fell. And I still was going to the gym and everything, but I'm like, man, I just liked when I was on 75 hard, the discipline. I'm
Yeah,
out in the rain, doing
we
my
need.
walk in the rain. Tim's on. It's crazy. So we need that discipline because I think the key to everything is discipline. And I think when it comes to your physical, your mental, and everything, we have to focus on those things first, and then business goes around it.
I'll share something one of my mentors said to me. He said, "If we don't fill our days with things that inspire us, our days are going to be filled with things that don't inspire us by default. Our default state
Right.
as a person is remain in rest, right? That's just
Mhm.
our body's default state, remain in rest. Because, dude, if you look at the history of humanity a few hundred years ago, people didn't have refrigerators. We didn't have water on demand. We didn't have food at the grocery store. We had eat now as much as you can till your next meal. And when you're not eating, you better rest because you're going to need that energy to hunt or to
To
forage,
hunt,
you know.
yeah.
And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was telling my boy a few days ago, I'm like, we're the guinea pigs of the modern world. Our generation's the guinea pigs of the modern world. We still don't know what all this radiation from this screen, this computer, this phone's going to do to us long term. We don't know how that's going to affect 4 or 5 generations down the time, but we're living. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah.
bro, being in the modern world, you need modern solutions. You get what I'm saying? Because now things
Yeah.
are more accessible. So, kind of off topic. I watch a lot of Joe Rogan, bro. That's where I got a
I
lot of
love
my
Joe. Yeah, I love
F1
Joe. I love
ARA.
Joe. Yeah,
His
Joe.
content is very stimulating, right? It introduces you to new industries, new ways of thought, new people. So I give him a lot of credit, bro. I think a lot of my character was built around his teachings too.
Yeah.
That's why I
Right.
feel like I'm pretty insightful with the things that I really ponder on. Because it's a lot of voices in my head, and not bad voices, but like people I respect. When I think about things, I think maybe, what would Shamus do? What would Carlos do? What would Mike do?
Mm-hmm.
What would Art do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
for
brother.
sure. So everybody looking to get into real estate, wholesaling, whatever it is, quick, just give them a word of inspiration, some type of advice.
A word of inspiration. Okay. Well, there's many ways to make money. Wholesaling is one of them. I would say if you wanted to get into wholesaling, just remove that limited belief. I think we all had that limiting belief in the beginning that no one's going to sell us their house for less than what it's worth. Remove that
Yeah.
immediately. Just know that if someone can do it, then you can. I never questioned that I could do anything, even till today. I know that it's within my potential. To God willing, one day have a 9-figure business, and 10-figure business, even. Someone out there did it. Someone out there has already walked that path. I just got to make sure that I'm willing to walk that path. But if it comes at the expense of my family, my faith, my health, then maybe I don't want to. I don't want to pursue it. So
Yeah.
just like I said, if you see someone doing it, know that it's within your reach to do it as well. You just have to be willing to do what they did.
Perfect.
And
Perfect.
one more thing I want to add to that. There's always an easier way. If you program yourself to think that, you'll start seeking new ways to do things, and that's when you break ground. When you
Yeah.
constantly remind yourself, hey, there's an easier way to do what I'm doing. That's all I tell
Yeah.
myself every single day I'm here at the office. If I'm underwriting a deal, I'm like, there's an easier way to do this. And I
Yeah.
start looking up different softwares, right? There's a million of them right now that I'm looking at. There's
Yeah.
DealCheck.io, there's Propelio, there's PropWire. Like I'm looking at a whole bunch of different
All of
things.
it. Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, because I asked a question. There's an easier way. What's the easier way?
Yeah. Yeah. 3 of your top books.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Millionaire Success Habits, and 48 Laws of Power.
Great book. Great book. Amir, my brother, I appreciate you for coming on here, sharing. Tell everybody where they can find you at. Everybody, you need to go follow him. He's a great dude. Tell them where they can find you at.
Primarily on Instagram. My Instagram handle is CEO Amir Helaly, AmirHelaly. If you need to get in touch with me, DMs are the best way. It allows me to put a face to the name and remember you. So if you need transactional lending, I'm in the transactional lending business. We got a few $1 million that we can lend out. I'm capped at $1 million per transaction, but I'd love to do business with anyone that's interested.
Definitely, everybody, follow my brother here. Make sure you reach out to him. He's a go-giver, and he wants to see people shine. And I believe he's going to be the one to build the $1 billion wholesaling company. All right,
Wow.
everybody, educate to elevate. Let's go. Amir, I appreciate you, my brother. Stay blessed.